The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on the break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Nick Harris, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, December 12th, 2024, Season 20, Episode number 84. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. How's everybody doing today?
Episode 84.
Excellent.
Have we done 84 shows
Yes, this year.
this season?
This season, yeah.
That's crazy.
We usually get into the 120-ish range by the time it's all said and done. Now,
Wow.
this year maybe a little less because we won't have the full week of shows in January.
Why is that?
Draft shows.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Well, offset with more draft shows. Yeah, it works. But no, we definitely are moving in that way because also, like, you got to remember, it goes to the league year.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll go into March before
Yeah.
we will flip to the next season of shows.
That's fair. That's
so,
fair.
So yeah, we get close to.
Derek's
120.
got this figured out.
Yeah, he does.
I've been
He's a
doing it a while,
professional,
man.
You know,
I've been doing it a
he's
while.
got
This
it
is
all.
season 20. We've
Yep.
been doing this for a long time. You know.
Season 20.
Got to say happy birthday to my guy Bryan Broaddus.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you. Very kind.
birthday.
Thank you. Very kind. Thank you. You were this past weekend though too, right? Happy birthday. to
Yeah,
you.
we didn't get a chance to say that on air because
Yeah.
we didn't do a show obviously on Sunday when it was your birthday. But happy belated birthday, Miss Garcia.
And then soon to be yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, later this month.
December is, yeah.
It's funny. We had
And mine's
we had
right after it. We all have it like in the span of
Wait,
a month.
when's yours?
January 5th.
January 5th,
Nah,
okay.
you're not part of the crew. Nah. It has to be December.
Well,
It
Mickey
has
was,
to be
Mickey was
December.
yesterday.
David
Hellman is Saturday.
Yeah, yeah,
Hellman
yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a run there. Remember that? I always remember Derek like taking everybody to lunch.
Yeah,
We'd
we
all
don't do
go
that
and eat
anymore.
like happy birthday. Yeah, we
Our
don't-
group's too big for that, man. I can't afford.
Oh,
that
I know.
anymore.
It's funny how that it seems like it grows and grows and
My
grows.
wife's like, save your money for that college student. We don't have money.
Oh yeah,
to everybody
trust me.
lunch.
I saw some clips about that Columbia.
Let's just
Yeah.
As Brian says, I'll give my Cash App. Feel free to send me money if you want to. I'll take
That's
it.
why we all have like 8 jobs right now.
right.
Just every one of our podcasts, please watch.
That's the thing about kids, man. They get more expensive every year. From the
year.
time they're born all the way till
Noted.
Yeah,
Think about that.
It's funny though.
What do you think? I haven't gotten pregnant again.
Is that why?
yet.
You're just
Yeah,
like-
I'm
you're
just
like,
looking at
that's
the
too much.
numbers. I'm like, because if you do something for one, you got to do it for both.
Right.
You know?
You're pregnant again?
What?
I said that's why I haven't
Oh,
gotten pregnant
congratulations.
yet.
Oh, I was like, what? How am I just figuring
We're
this
breaking
out?
news. Glad you went there.
Oh, my God.
Breaking news here on the break.
Not yet.
Diego
We'll see.
too?
The cost of living is
If
too
Jose
much.
was listening, he'd be like, "What? What? Wait, what?"
Yeah, when did this happen?
It's so funny how they figure out how to like go have dinner on you now,
Yeah.
and then they'll be standing in line to pay the bill, and they'll like, "Hey, Dad, can you send money for me?" To
Yeah, I
and
get those calls.
They've already eaten. They've already like. I mean, what? And I go, are you getting ready to go? He goes, no, we're getting ready to pay. Can you please help me
Can you
out?
send me some money?
Technology has ruined me in that way.
Literally,
That-
It's-
that-
you
that
just pick up
money
the
could
phone.
go-
You got to send money.
Yeah, you could just hit a button and send money, and it's crazy. But he's figured out how to wait till he gets in line to
Smart
pay.
man.
To pay, it's like, hey, Dad, my share of the bill is, and then I'm like, okay,
It's that intelligence that got him to Texas. Just
Right.
Remember that.
yeah,
Smart guy. All right, let's jump in. We got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get into some injury updates, particularly on Cooper Beebe. We'll talk a little about where he is. And then we're going to talk a little bit about special teams. Yesterday, Monty Oruwariye had his first session with the media following the botched punt from last game, and some interesting thoughts there. And then we're going to talk about the Carolina defense and how it matches up with this Cowboys offense. Again, this unit, as we talked about yesterday, the offense has some interesting things.
Yeah.
This unit, oh my gosh, like all the numbers say that you should be able to do a lot of good things against them. But we'll talk about that and dive into some of the players that you should be aware of. Let's start first, though, with Cooper Beebe. He missed practice yesterday with a concussion. Obviously, with a concussion, it's probably not likely in a short week that he plays, I would guess. But I want to focus a little more on another, like an offshoot of that, which is Brock Hoffman, who played center in replacement of Beebe this last game. My question for you guys is, do you think at this point, from what you've seen this season, because he's had a pretty good amount of playing time, do you think he's a better center or a better guard?
That's a tough one. I think I think it's kind of the same. I don't necessarily see a major difference, unless you do, Brian.
No, what's funny was, were you surprised how quickly that competition ended
Yes.
at training camp?
Yes.
Did it end quick though?
I felt
Because
like
we were like 2 or 3 weeks into camp, and we're like, "Yo, Hoffman might win this thing," and then BB just kind of
Were
like
we?
flipped it around.
I kind of felt like that there was maybe like 2 weeks, and then we were getting into it, and it was like, but I'm not going to lie to you, I was on board because I wanted to see BB play center.
Yeah.
I misevaluated Hoffman. I thought Hoffman for 1 or 2 games get you through. I got to the point where I've started to ask questions on all these podcasts I'm on about, do you feel like, and I think I asked you guys this question, does Hoffman and say Bass's play make you not want to think about a guard early in this draft? You know,
Yes, I think it's
and
fair.
for example, you'll know the name Banks,
Yep.
Texas tackle,
Yep.
who a lot of people, and he won the Lombardi Award last night.
Yep.
But we've talked about Banks being potentially a guard. I don't know. You might think he's a tackle, but do you feel like that if you're picking at 11 or 12, that you would take a guard there? Or does has Hoffman made you feel like that you don't need to draft that guy there at that spot, that you could draft something else? But I kind of felt like, though, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I kind of felt like the BB thing, I thought all of a sudden it was like Hoffman was out.
I just remember BB couldn't snap the ball for like 2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
and it was like, okay, I think Hoffman might win this thing.
Okay.
And we were
I
talking about
remember
it.
some of those problems,
And then
too.
all of a sudden, BB learned how to snap the ball, and he was the center.
Yeah,
And
you know,
then it happened very quick. It did happen quick.
No,
when
that's
it did happen.
that's fair.
It could have been perception, but it felt like to me it was kind of a shell game from the beginning. Like, oh, he's the starter entering camp, but it was just kind of like, it was always gonna be BB. That's how I felt, and maybe that's why I didn't see think of it from the way you thought of it. I just always thought eventually BB's gonna be the guy.
I kind of feel like that if Zach Martin was not playing right guard this year, say Zach Martin would have retired last year, I think you would have seen Hoffman at center and BB at right guard.
Yeah. Or
And that's
maybe
where
Bass at one of
actually
those
that's
spots.
where I was going with the question is if you think Hoffman is as good a center as he is a guard,
Yeah.
is BB then a better guard than he is a center?
See,
in which
that's-
case maybe they flip if you go into next year, or even if BB comes back this year. Like, I don't know if they'd make that change this late in the year. But at some point, do you see that kind of flip where BB now moves out to guard?
I'll tell you this: I've started getting active in my draft group chats again over the course of the last month, and as we
It's taking you this long?
yeah, as we kind of just BS and everything, especially talking about last year's class, there are a lot of people that are like, so why are the Cowboys playing Cooper Beebe at center? He's like, yeah, it's working out, but why is he not playing a guard?
Yeah.
And so it always kind of makes me think in the back of my mind, maybe he would be a better guard, but we can only see what we've seen. What I saw at Kansas State was a guy that was absolutely nasty at guard, and I've seen a guy at center who's been consistent. For a rookie, he's been consistent.
Right.
Is he still learning the position? I think so, absolutely, but he's been consistent. So I don't know. I would like to see both.
Why, if BB was healthy, why would I want to see? I mean, I'm saying this. I'm asking. Okay, Adoga. See, Steele's played well enough, but there's a side of me that kind of wants to see Guyton play right tackle.
Me too.
But also put BB at right guard and put Hoffman at center.
No, we'd be cooking.
Just to see, just for like
I'm
three,
with you on
just
this,
like
yeah.
3 games. But I'm not. I tell you what, I don't want to do anything with Steele right now because I feel like Steele is playing pretty well for you. I mean, it's there were some times where him and Martin, it was a struggle over there. But I want to see. I wonder if you would see if you did, because I don't want to sit there and say, okay, now Steele go play left tackle, and then we'll see how this works. But I would not be opposed to like seeing that combination with Hoffman at center, BB at guard, and Guyton at right tackle.
I think this team is one more loss away from starting to toy with those kinds of things. And Stephen Jones said yesterday, he was asked, okay, hey, when do you start thinking about personnel changes, just to see what you got? And he's like, right now we're playing to win. When that changes, you'll notice it.
Yeah.
And so he left the door open for that.
Well,
And
I
think
guess-
this team might be one loss away from that.
Yeah. Brian, I look at that and going back to your question about
Yeah,
like what
sorry,
you
yeah.
thought about think about what you were talking about at guard.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything, or I have seen things that make me question whether I would draft a guard early.
Yeah.
I have not seen anything that makes me say I wouldn't draft a tackle early. So going back to, let's say, Banks,
Yeah.
if you think he's going to be a guard, I don't necessarily think
Yeah.
I'd take a first-round pick on him.
Yeah.
If I have a bona fide tackle that I feel really good about,
Yeah.
and I'm up at 11, 12, and that guy's there, throwing the
See,
card up there, I'm good with it.
I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about this. I kind of feel like that maybe Banks would be this tackle group when you watch them and when we talk about them, it's not going to have the same tone that we had last year about this group. I think there's a lot more questions about this group playing, and I think one of the best ones, the Simmons from Ohio State, who has a knee injury. I think he would have been one of the best. Well, I think he'd have been maybe number one in my opinion, on this board for tackle. But I think I don't know, because I'm trying to feel like did Hoffman do enough at right guard to make me not want to draft? And you might think Banks is a tackle only. I don't know that.
No. I think he could play either. I think that's up
so.
to the
See,
team's
that's what I'm
discretion.
saying. I mean, there's a couple positions now where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I've seen enough. I mean, running back might be another one too, where you've seen enough with Rico Dowdle that you're like, okay, maybe I don't have to at 11 or 12. Maybe if Genty's there, the running back from Boise, maybe I don't have to do that because of Dowdle, the way he's played.
This conversation is making me feel so uneasy because the fact that you guys are starting to get comfortable with some of the guys on the offensive line, like it just makes me, because of the trauma I carry. And it's been so long because if you think about it, I mean, from the time I started, which was right before the beginning of the career of Dak, where you had a pretty solid line. Zach Martin, he's like the last piece of that line that was here initially. So it's crazy, and to me, and this is just the course of the NFL and what happens, you know, players retire or they leave or move on or whatever. But to think now that you're going to have to find that confidence in five guys that you can fully trust and move on from well, what about injuries? Because recently in the last few years, it's always somebody dealing with some kind of injury. And going back to the draft and having to rely on drafting. And they've hit the nail, or what is it? The nail on the head when it comes to drafting offensive players early on in the draft. But it's just hearing all of this, I'm just like, man, this is pretty wild. And also, when you talk about the different combinations, it makes me think, when would they actually do that? When, aside from these last few games where they could maybe, if they're after that percentage of chance that you have left for the playoffs, after that's out of the question, these different combinations, when do you expect the Cowboys to actually see that? Because sometimes even at training camp, when you talk about these different guys, I feel like, okay, that's the right time to maybe test different things, but you don't tend to see them shuffle people around that much, okay, unless someone gets hurt and you just are forced to. So I don't know, this interesting conversation when it comes to all these different players.
Would you take an offense or defensive player if you were picking in the top 5?
Offense.
How about you, Derek?
Honestly, it depends on the player. I don't know if I could say. I'll tell you this: it would be a tackle, an offensive tackle, a defensive tackle, or defensive end. Probably, I'm thinking, or maybe I wouldn't take a linebacker. That one of those three is probably what I would take.
My answer is yes. My answer is yes. Yeah, I don't think they're in a position right now to not take the best player available.
See,
I kind of agree
that's
with you.
kind of where that's kind of where I hope this thing goes.
Yeah,
I hope it's if somehow and you know, you're gonna really have to. It's possible though. I mean, you just don't know how these games are gonna play out now. But if you somehow are picking in the top 8, you know, where would you would? I think you want to just take the best player there.
Yeah, but there are some positions that are off limits, right? like quarterback is off limits, right? I'm just saying, like there are some positions that are off limits.
To be honest with you,
After that contract, what do you mean?
I was like the kombucha girl. I was like,
but that's the thing. There is a conversation to be had just from the standpoint, and it's not about Dak as much as it is when's the next time you think you're going to be in a position to be able to draft a quarterback high.
I don't know.
So do you take one like Atlanta did to protect yourself for the future? You know?
What are we smoking here now? Because this conversation
it just
is
took a whole
crazy.
different.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, as a fan, I kind of knew this going on. You know, Stephen Jones kind of talked about the plan for 2025, right? Didn't he yesterday?
Yeah.
A little bit about like, you know, hey, we're up against it. Don't expect, you know, okay, we'll get ready for the second purge of players that you found. Get ready for Jordan Lewis to be gone. Get ready for Oso Digizua to be gone. Get ready for all that depth that, you know, that was playing games for you this year to be gone. You know, now do you feel like, okay, if we're going to have another year of what we just had in 2024, you know, and not replace anybody except through the draft and college free agency?
That means you need guys to play immediately in the draft.
See, that's what I'm saying, though. You might be back to talking about picking a quarterback in the top 8 again.
The next year.
In 2025.
Yeah.
I made a dash over to the league meetings yesterday where we talked to Stephen Jones, and while we were kind of waiting on everything, I'd met a personnel executive in the AFC, and we were just kind of talking draft and everything. He expects the Cowboys to take Genty. He expects there to be a running back just because he was like, they have offensive line, they have defensive line, they have corners, they have linebackers. He's like, they are in a position where they are one playmaker away to be able to make some things happen. He's like, Genty makes the most sense.
Yeah, that's before you think about the free agents they may lose this year.
Yeah,
like I think before you think that you might be able to say
fair.
some of those areas you have some players, but
I would be totally elated if they take that kid.
Yeah, no doubt.
I would be elated. And, you know, he makes a lot of sense. But I also think about, too, that because to me, I'm trying to not, in the first round, I am trying to get the safest player on that board. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get the guy that has the least amount of holes that I know can help me in play. And it might only be for 5 years with that guy, you know. But if I'm the general manager, I'm thinking, well, I might only have 2 years with this job. Mm-hmm. If here it's a little bit different, but I'm kind of thinking like, okay, if I can go and get the player that has the least amount of holes, everything about him is clean, health, all that stuff. Now, people argue about the number of carries. They will argue with you about the number of carries. They'll say, man, this guy carries the ball a ton.
There's an argument to be had there.
Yeah. And that's where you're at. But as far as the best players in the country, that kid's one of them.
He's up there. Yeah,
that kid's one of them. Yep. He really is.
Yep. All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back. Let's jump into this Carolina defense versus the Cowboys offense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. They're so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's stay-in-your-car 10-minute oil change at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're faster than you think. That means you won't even have time to show off your best touchdown celebration. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
From the field to the festivities, Lucchese embodies the essence of luxury and tradition. Handcrafted with meticulous precision, each pair offers unmatched comfort and style. Stand tall while you're tailgating or cheering in the stands with the Dallas Cowboys collection by Lucchese. Shop the collection today at the Lucchese store at the Star in Frisco or online at lucchese.com. Lucchese, the official boot of the Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates. But with that Texas heat, it's crucial to keep my beer hand cramping cold. That's where Yeti's insulated Colster can cooler comes in clutch. This year, you can even get them with the iconic star engraved on the side. Licensed Yeti Cowboys gear is now available at Stadium Pro Shops, concessions, and on Yeti.com. Check it out today. Yeti, official cooler and drinkware of the Dallas Cowboys.
Back to the break.
LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game, but don't take our word for it. Digital Trends said that LG OLED G4 has the best picture quality they've ever seen. See it for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. The segment brought to you by blockchain.com. All right, let's talk about the Carolina defense. Check this out. They are 32nd in points against. They are 31st in total defense.
Improvement.
They are 32nd in rush defense. They've allowed 200 yards rushing 4 times this season. Check out their last 5 games. At Philadelphia, 209 yards. Versus Tampa Bay, 236 yards. Versus Kansas City, 165 yards. Versus New York Giants, 167 yards. Versus New Orleans, 197 yards. Like, they are not just giving up yards, they're giving up a ton of rushing yards. You think you've seen bad run defense at times around here this year? Yeah. They are making, like, they are saying, hold my beer. And they are really, really, really giving up a lot in the running game. My question is, what makes them most vulnerable against the run?
It just feels like guys have open holes. I mean, this defensive line is not impressive. I do like one of their interior guys from a pass rush perspective, but from a run defense perspective, I mean, these guys they don't move bodies. They don't fill these gaps. There's just a lot of holes for these running backs. I mean, you see it with Kansas City. They weren't even really fully healthy. Pacheco was just trying to find his footing again. And then with the Giants as well, they've had issues. I like Tyrone Tracy, but they've had issues as well.
167 to the Giants is crazy.
Yeah, it's bad. I think it starts up front with this line. I think this line is really weak. Even when Jadeveon Clowney's been in the mix, it hasn't been great.
Yeah, they miss Frankie Louvu, who's now playing at the Commanders. And Frankie was pretty good at playing the run. We saw that with our own eyes when he was, with the Commanders earlier in the year. And they really have a problem with explosive plays too, explosive runs. And they face a ton of carries, as you mentioned. They give up a ton of yards. They're not really good at playing on your side of the line of scrimmage. Contacts, all that stuff is usually on their side of the line of scrimmage. We always like to talk about the metrics of how many guys you're going to play down, and here they are getting killed in the run game, and they still play 6 men in the box. They think they can handle that, and it's just not working for them. They play light that way, and it's funny when you start to compare them with the Cowboys. Dallas was so bad for so many weeks, and trying to kind of dig out of that hole, but it doesn't matter whether it's run or pass with this group. They give up almost 6 yards a play, and Dallas is right there with them in the number of opportunities that teams have against them. But I kind of feel like, though, that it is about the front. They just don't have anything. They don't have any way to control the run, and teams know that, and they load up and they go at them with it. And you kind of felt like that maybe that they would be a little bit better. But I think missing the linebacker, Frankie Louvu, I think that really has hurt them with their run defense.
Yeah, when you look at their pass defense, there are some numbers that are equally as bad.
They're bad.
They're 28th in sacks, 32nd in pressure percentage, and in quarterback hits.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like they generate much pressure. If there is a guy, though, that you should be concerned about, who would that guy be in the front from a pass rush standpoint?
From a pass rush, A'Shaun Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson's played really well for them. Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing, though. They've actually, if you look at the metrics too on Clowney, has been, when he's been on the field and off the field, the number of pressures that they've had. But Robinson has played really, really well for them. That was a good get for them. He's the one guy. He's number 94 for them, playing on the left end, and he's he's the one guy you kind of have some familiarity because he was with the Giants, and so he was part of that line, and really kind of wasn't had flashes of play, but here he's a little bit. I think he's been a little bit more consistent with the way he's played.
Well, McCarthy will be able to just do either. There's so little room for mistake on this one, whether he decides to throw some passing plays or run the ball. Yeah. You can go either way.
This just looking at, and I know you watched the secondary here too, Joe Horn was a name that was thrown around here a lot during that period when they took Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And, it was Surtain and it was Horn. And Mike McCarthy had coached J.C. Horn's dad, Joe Horn, at New Orleans. So it was kind of like they was lining up that maybe the coaches were lining up for Horn and the scouts were looking at Surtain. And they've gone after – now, you talk about the lack of pass rush. Opponents have had a lot of time to throw the football against these guys too. They don't get pressure at all or quick enough, put it that way. So that's a problem for their secondary. I will say this about Horn. Mike Jackson's on one side, and he gets attacked a lot in this. They got him in a trade from Seattle. Teams go after him. Horn, they'll go after him. He's given up 7 touchdowns this year, but his completion percentage is pretty good against. He plays. It's not an easy throw against him. He's going to battle you back there. So I kind of feel like that Jackson is the guy to go after. They play with a lot of cushion. Did you notice that about this team? How they play like, I was curious because I'm watching the tape and I'm going, God, they're playing off so much, off coverage. How they're doing this? Went back and I checked. They play on an average of like 7.2 yards of cushion.
Oh, wow.
On the outside.
Yeah. And
I'm sitting there thinking, no wonder you're getting crushed on, no wonder you can't stop. You have no pass rush and you're playing cushion.
Mm-hmm. Those two things don't match up.
Do you think maybe that's a reaction to no pass rush?
Maybe they're trying to keep everything in front of them. Maybe they're not trying to give up the big plays.
Yeah.
But I was surprised, especially with Horn. He's kind of a man player, get up on you, kind of disrupt you, kind of. But when you're telling me they're playing, and that I think that's third or fourth most in the league when you start to talk about that. So that Ambar, you're kind of making fun of. Oh, Mike can kind of do. Mike might look at that and say, well, geez, we could throw on these guys. Yeah. We could protect. And then we could throw with that cushion. We can run our inside game, or we can run our slants. We can run our, and if they're not going to press us, then that's good for the Cowboys because the Cowboys have struggled getting off the line of scrimmage.
So here's the $1 million question. You look at this defense, and statistically, they're the worst in the league.
They are, in a lot of ways.
How the heck are they playing all these teams so close? They've had a lot of games that they've lost that have been really close games against some really good teams. Why are teams not running through them and putting up 30, 40 points every week if this defense is so statistically bad?
You know how sometimes offense is the best defense, and I think this offense is just playing a lot better.
Yeah.
They're maintaining time and possession a little bit more as the games have gone by. That's at least what I noticed from the Chiefs game because I looked at that one specifically. Like, how did they have a chance to win
it's
this
crazy.
Game? But I just see time of possession as a factor in that one.
It's Hubbard. It's running the football. It's that ability. The quarterback's not effing it up, throwing interceptions. He's the last 5 games, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Before that, he'd thrown 7 for the year, 6 of them before the time he got benched. Mm-hmm. He's protecting the football. They're running the ball with Chuba Hubbard. Their offensive line, like we talked about yesterday, is not spectacular, but they're getting it done.
It's efficient, yeah.
Yeah. So it is a mystery to me why that teams, but they're on par. They're on par with the Cowboys, and the Cowboys started so badly. I mean, just to give you an example of things, like I was looking at this. We were talking about blitz numbers and stuff. Dallas and Carolina have blitzed roughly the same amount on defense. Blitz people. Dallas has got like I think I wrote it down in my notes here, but I was just because I was looking at. Dallas has how many more pressures than they have 11 more sacks than what Carolina has with the same amount of blitz pressure. Okay, yeah, Carolina's blitzed 149 times. Dallas has blitzed 149 times. Carolina 147. Dallas has 52 more pressures off those blitzes and 11 more sacks.
Wow.
Than what Carolina has. But that's
so even when they're blitzing, they're just not getting there. They're getting no pressure.
And another thing is, you want to talk about problems that teams have. They get down in the red zone, and I always like to look at how many completions do you get down there in the red zone. Just a note I put here. They've had 29 attempts down there against them in the red zone. Completion percentage about 52%. That's the 5th worst in the league. Dallas is second in that category. They've given up they're giving up 59% completion down there. We understand why Dallas has problems.
Yeah.
Carolina's got the same kind of problems. But you're right. Teams have not taken advantage of them at least the last 5 weeks. And I think it's, to your point, Nick, it's because the quarterback's playing better, they run the football, and they find a way to kind of hold things in games with their offense and with the running game, and then with guys like Thielen and others to make some plays.
Go ahead.
I think just this defense overall, kind of going back to their run defense, back to that subject. 9 times out of 10, when a safety is leading your team in tackles, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
I do like Xavier Woods. He leads his team in tackles. He leads them in interceptions.
Of
but I
Cowboys
feel like yeah, right. Oh, okay. And I think there's I think that's an indictment on this rush defense. But I do like Xavier Woods. I think he's being asked to do a lot from that 3rd level.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take our final break. We will come back. I got some questions for you guys about the matchup between the Cowboys offense and the Cowboys defense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a Pepper thing.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
For questions about their money, Dallas Cowboys fans can turn to Erica, the virtual financial assistant in the Bank of America mobile banking app. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/Erica by your side. Bank of America, official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Erica responses may vary. Digital tools featured require downloading the mobile banking app and may only be available on select mobile devices. Erica is a mobile feature only available in the English language. Your chat may be recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Message and data rates and additional terms may apply. Bank of America, N.A., member FDIC.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to the break.
AT&T connecting changes everything.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. All right, here we go. I got some questions for you guys about this Cowboys offense. I'm going to start here, and this is a bigger picture question. So, which is better at this point for Dallas, their run offense or their pass offense?
Run offense.
Run.
Yeah. I'll expand.
It's more consistent.
It is more consistent. Rico Dowdle.
It's amazing for us to be saying that. And then to be saying without a beat, just like running off.
You look at the last several weeks, and it goes back to Carolina, Chuba Hubbard. The two backs that have had the most successful runs are your guy and Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. That's the most
amazing.
4 successful runs are deemed 4+ yards a carry.
Yeah.
You got 1 and 2 playing this week against each
And he
other.
only had 18 carries in this last game. Just thought I'd throw that back out there.
I'm not saying this should happen, but if CeeDee Lamb is the only receiver back on this team next year, you wouldn't get a complaint from me necessarily.
You want to just revamp the whole group.
Yeah.
You know
the whole
what?
room.
I appreciate you having the
What
guts
about
to say
Mingo?
that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I ain't seen enough from Mingo yet.
You're
I
right.
can't get rid of him yet.
You're
And
right.
what I
I
will say this,
I'm just saying you wouldn't get a complaint from me.
what
I'm
I
not saying
have-
it
what I
should
have
happen
seen-
because then you would be wasting that 4th-round pick. You would be wasting Flanoy.
I mean, you
Brooke.
can't do
there's-
that.
What I will
I'm
say
just saying you
is-
wouldn't get a complaint from me.
What I will say is the man's ability to block is better than anybody in that room right now. That alone makes me say I want him back. And let's
All
see if we can figure out. Let's see if we can figure out how Dak can get him the ball. Actually, good pass. Let's see.
I'll tell you what, man,
Catchable pass.
I really do appreciate your honesty there because yesterday I got into that same discussion and actually was on with my guy Vach Lombardi last night. We were talking about it. I said, listen, you got one receiver. I mean, the Tolbert stuff and all that. I was willing. I was hopeful. I wanted to see, and he says, well, his numbers are same as Michael Gallup, basically. And I said, that's the problem.
And he's out.
And he's gone.
Yep.
That's the problem. And, with I think to me, you needed more. You needed a lot more over there. And, Cooks got injured. That really hurt you. I still think Cooks can play. But you're not wrong. It's Michael. It's CeeDee Lamb and go and try and revamp this thing.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you at all.
But talking about I bring that up just because the pass offense, I don't think is reliable enough right now. And you look at Cooper Rush
not
as
with
well.
the quarterback throwing either.
Yeah, you look at Cooper Rush as well. He didn't have the greatest game against Cincinnati. So yeah, I think if they can maintain the run, win the time of possession battle in these games, they can rattle off 2 or 3 wins here. I do believe that.
And you also have to remember
Are you
how
really
the
that
offense
confident?
looked
Yeah,
with
I do.
Dak. So it's not like just because you're having a backup
They were having
quarterback
issues
right now,
before.
you've seen this a good chunk of the season. It was with Dak Prescott as the quarterback, and they were still struggling a whole lot.
That's a good point.
So that being said, here's the next question to that. Where's your level of confidence with Cooper Rush? I think coming into this year, relative to where it was then versus where it is now, seeing him play these games, do you feel like you have the same level of confidence? Do you think it's more? Do you think it's less?
I think there were rightful questions whenever he came in to start for Dak Prescott, just because we hadn't seen him in 2 years.
Yeah.
And I think I look back to camp, and he had some issues at camp, and I wonder if there was a conversation had with him at camp to start taking more chances just to see what that looked like, because he pushed the ball down the field a lot.
He did. He
at
looked
camp.
better. He looked better
And
at camp.
Granted, he made mistakes on the same end, but he was pushing the ball down the field. You've seen him try that a couple of more times this time around as compared to 2022. But again, in 2022, he had a lot more working for him than against him, and he has a lot more working against him than for him now. So my confidence in Cooper Rush, are you asking for the future or for these next 4 games?
I'm just saying in general, where you thought he was at the beginning of the season, your level of confidence there to where it is now, is it more, is it the same, or is it less?
I would say it's probably the same because I've never seen him as the guy that'll win you the game.
Got it.
You know what? There's a weird side of me that thinks they're not going to play Trey Lance because they want to sign him cheap.
Yeah, I thought about that. I've thought about that as well.
That if you don't play Trey Lance and he goes out there and say he has success, maybe you have 4 games, he wins, maybe he's 2-2.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden you see some sparks in the offense, you see the running game, you see him running the ball, you see him kind of finding some receivers.
Created a market at that point.
All of a sudden now it's like, whoa, Trey Lance someone might want to go and sign Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. There's a side of me, a sneaky side that's feeling like that they're not going to play Trey Lance just because they're going to see like, okay, hey, listen, it didn't work out for you here as far as getting a bunch of snaps, but we'd like to have you back. And then it turns into Trey Lance then becomes your backup quarterback, and then they move on from Cooper Rush.
I definitely could see that.
I think they're playing the game with us right now. They don't want him to play because they don't want his marketability to go up.
And
I think
they
that's fair.
either draft a guy late day 3 or bring back Will Greer.
Yeah.
Well, in today's world, I feel
I have no
like
confidence in Cooper
unless
Rush.
you're a quarterback,
to answer the question.
Yeah.
unless you're a quarterback that is highly accurate,
Yeah.
you have to be able to move out of the pocket. Like I'm not saying be a runner and then an extremely mobile quarterback, but you have to have that flexibility in your body to be able to do that at times and not lose vision so bad. Like there are times that he just stands there, and I'm like, what? At least move, like have that natural instinct of survival, of like getting out and moving.
They're coming. Go somewhere else.
Like I mean, it's just a natural instinct of humans. You see danger. Oh crap! Let me try to run. But I get it. When it comes to fight or flight, I just stay still. I'm just like I freeze. So maybe he has that freeze moment. No, it's absolutely terrible, and that's why I'm talking about it. But
not a quarterback.
Exactly. No. You do not want. But you don't want that in your quarterback in today's world. And he, I also have to remember too that who was calling the plays when he had that success. Again, different offense. Yeah. Kellen Moore was the one still calling the plays there. And I have a lot of issues with the play caller and remembering again how bad the offense still looked with Dak Prescott as your starter. So it's just that it's hard to evaluate at times because the offense has just overall been so bad. But at the same time, there are plays that you see him make and throws that he throws, and there's no justification for that either.
Yeah. All right, I think we're going to have to wait on the Oruwariye conversation. We'll save that until tomorrow. That'll be a wrap for us today. We got to head off, get over here to the Salvation Army, going to serve some folks today. So we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, for Nick Harris, Bryan Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!